Honourable Member for Sydney and the Deputy Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and it's always such a pleasure to see you in the chair. Mr Deputy Speaker, the American philosopher John Dewey once said, "What the best and wisest parent wants for his own child, that must the community want for all its children." Those words are more than a century old, but they still speak of the hope that every parent has for their child. The hope that their kids will get a good education, that there'll be a job there for them when they're growing, that they're healthy and prepared to step out into the world. But Dewey's words and that hope have been betrayed by this government and its unfair, chaotic budget. The best thing that we can do for individual kids and for the prosperity of our nation, kids like those up in the galleries today, is invest in education. But what has this government done? It's cut $1 billion from childcare. It's cut 650 trades training centres. It's cut $1 billion from the Tools for Your Trade program. It's cut $30 billion from school funding. The Farragonski school funding model abandoned. It means the kids who need the most help will not get it under this government. The school kids bonus, family tax benefit, Part B, all of these things cut. But perhaps nothing underscores the Abbott government's true values more than their cuts to universities. Now, Christopher Pyne and number 93 over here says that national debt is bad, but student debt is great. Big American-style student debt, that's great. And you know what else the Minister for Education says? He says taxpayers hate paying for university education for other people. Well, here's some news for you. Even those cleaners that this government has cut the wages of, even those cleaners may hope that their children one day can aspire to go to university. They don't mind paying their taxes to make sure that we live in a more prosperous country where every child has the opportunity of a university education. And here's another piece of news for the Education Minister. Those university students, they turn out to be taxpayers. And when we've got a progressive taxation system, guess what? That extra income that they earn because they've gone to university, they pay extra tax on that. You know, one of the other things that has been so disappointing about this budget, the health cuts, $50 billion from hospitals, $400 million from public dental, $400 million from prevention. And you know what? There are ways of making savings in health. The best way to make savings in health is to keep people healthy and out of hospital, like our work in prevention has dropped the rate of smoking. You know, budgets are all about choices. They're about choices, they're about priorities, they're about values. And this government shows its priorities and it shows its values when it says everybody has to tighten their belts. Families on $60,000 a year, tighten your belt by $6,000 a year. Pensioners, $4,000 a year. Young unemployed people, almost $7,000 a year. Everyone has to tighten their belts. But high-income earners, they pay a little bit of extra tax for 3 years and then nothing. So poor people, their cuts are large and they are permanent. Rich people, their cuts are small and they are temporary. It's a priority for this government to spend $20 billion to give millionaires $50,000 to have a baby. It's a priority for this government to hand $1.1 billion to multinational companies in tax breaks. It's a priority for this government to make sure that people on high incomes don't get breaks on their superannuation, big breaks on their superannuation not available to low-income earners. It's a priority for this government to give handouts to big polluters. That's their priorities. What are our priorities in government? Investing more fairly in education so that every child has a great education. What are our priorities in government? Investing in a national disability insurance scheme so that disabled Australians finally get the choice and the control about the services that they get. What are our priorities in government? Looking after the poor and the vulnerable, and yes, making sure that what the best and wisest parent wants for his child, society wants for all our children. It's the type of society, the type of country that we want to hand over to our children too. One of the things that has struck me most about the response to this budget is it's not pensioners saying, I'm really worried about my pension. It's pensioners saying, I'm really worried about the uni students. And it's not uni students saying, I'm really worried about myself. They're saying, I'm really worried about pensioners and the health system. This shows that we care about a fairer Australia.
Order.